Okay, let's talk finance strategies for freelancers. I have my friend, a fractional CFO, Pam Pior, in the house to help us get straight with our money in 2024. Hey, I'm Emily Reagan, and I teach virtual assistants how to be souped up, highly paid, highly prized marketing assistants who are confident in their services. And on this channel, I help you get more exceptional with your services, learn things about the business, and how to market yourself. Today, I have Pam Pior here from the Priorities Group. She is a fractional CFO here to help you get better with the money in your business and things you should do if you're a brand new virtual assistant, or if you're established and already making money, and some of the first things you should do to protect and grow your money. Make sure you hit subscribe on this YouTube channel so you don't miss out on our next video. And just know that this entire episode is also over on my podcast, Unicorns Unite. There's more to this episode than what you hear today, so make sure you hit subscribe for the Unicorns Unite podcast. All right, let's get into it. I have a lot of people, especially in my work group, positioning themselves to either have an agency, or they might be looking at just subcontracting and really leveraging what they're good at and getting support in some of those like higher ticket offers. You can't operate at a loss with this kind of model.
Here's the scary thing. You can operate at a loss, and you find out way too late. If you're listening to this, you can do me the biggest favor in the world, which will be the biggest favor to you. Decide that in 2024, a couple things. One is you're going to have a separate bank account for your business. And when you do that, they'll let you set up a credit card usually too, if you do it in the name of the business. Start using it, start getting some credit on your, credit going inside your business. And then the second thing would be, go ahead and get just some basic bookkeeping system. And the reason isn't necessarily that you need to have it right now to see things, but it'll pull everything in automatically, and you can ignore it if you want to. But when you do decide you need to get stuff to your accountant or your bookkeeper, it'll all be set up for you. They just have to go in, press a couple buttons, and boom, they'll have everything they need. And finally, from those two things, when you're ready, you'll be able to get some amazing information out of that system about whether you're profitable or not, what your cash flow is, how you can grow. Can you hire somebody? Do you need to raise your prices? Do you need to pay more for your consultants? Can you pay more? All those things, the answer to those questions are going to be in those bookkeeping system that you bothered to start whenever you actually pull that trigger.
So what would you say to somebody who is like the Emily or the service provider who's been doing it a couple years now, and it's time to face the numbers? Like, I know so many of us avoid it, right? Like, we're just working and not really paying ourselves well. Like, let's speak to that person for a little bit, because that's a lot of my audience. I know it.
The first thing I'd say is paying yourself is the most critical thing. You did not get into business to sacrifice both your time and your money, because 9 times out of 10, I'm guessing you are doing this for freedom. So how do you do that? And the way I suggest people do that is something I call an upside down budget. Basically, I say, okay, look at how much money you need to make to live the lifestyle that you want to live. And let's say that for somebody that is, $4,000 a month. Then I want you to say, think about the last 30 days, 60 days. Think of all those times you said, boy, if I could afford that, I'd get it. Or, boy, I'd love to do that, but it's too expensive. Think about what those things are that have kind of piqued your interest, but you haven't gotten them because of money. Okay. And now I want you to add those to your $4,000. Okay. Now I want to know what that number is. So say that gets it up to $10,000. Okay. We're going to say what we want ideally for you as the business owner is to be writing yourself from the business a check for $10,000. Then I'm going to say, okay, I got to write a check for $10,000 a month from the business. That does not mean all I have to do is get $120,000 worth of business for the year. The next step is to, what are the expenses I have to pay in the business? You've got Zoom, you've got consulting, you've got these kind of groups, whatever there, and say those add up to $1,000 a month. Now I know I need $10,000 to pay me, and I need $1,000 to pay my bills in the business. Therefore, I need to make $11,000 a month. Then and only then do I start thinking about, what's my offering? What's its value? How do I price it? How do I pay for it?
I guarantee you most of our listeners are not doing that. I think we get stuck in this like comparisitis or whatever we see. We're like, oh, she says she makes 10 or 20K a month being an ads manager. Like, that's what I want. But they're not thinking about their own personal situation and life dreams and goals. And
This is the thing that particularly frustrates me when you get into the rooms with a lot of these more bragging entrepreneurs. And it's like, oh, I'm an 8-figure business. I'm a 7-figure business. I'm in the 2 comma club. That's a revenue number. That revenue number means nothing. It really means nothing unless it's covering all your expenses and paying you. So
yeah.
don't let those numbers intimidate you. There are plenty of 7-figure entrepreneurs who are flat broke.
What else do you wish we would know? Because I know it's intimidating when you see like gross revenue, net income. Like, what do I need to be paying attention to?
What I would always do is look ahead 12 months and just pick a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be a spreadsheet. You can scribble it out on a piece of paper like this if you're not and just say, if things go the best they possibly could, based on what I'm going to do this year, what money will be coming in each month? And what will it cost me to get that money each month? Scribble that across the columns. Then on the next piece of paper, put, okay, if things go okay, what will happen? What will be the money that comes in? What will be the money that goes out? And then the last one is if things go bust. The reason we do the bottom one is you want to establish okay, just in case I know that these expenses don't go away, even if things suck. So I have to be able to cover these expenses.
That's
Really important number to know. That's the only reason we do it. I really suggest you have paying yourself in those expenses too. The best one, what I want you to do then is go through, okay, to do this now, who do I have to hire? When do I have to hire them? What things do I have to buy? When do I have to buy them? And start breaking it out a little bit. And if you just do that exercise, if you take half an hour to just do that exercise once at the beginning of the year, you've actually created a forecast. That's all a forecast is. But what that'll do is each month then, this now makes the numbers that you're going to look at because you have a bookkeeping system now. When you see that profit and loss statement and you look at the top revenue and the total expenses and the leftover number for each month, you can compare it to what you scribbled on that piece of paper. And you can say, hey, yeah, I'm doing that. I'm doing better than that. I'm doing a little worse than that. So you can start to make decisions about things you can do a little further down the road because you've created yourself a telescope into what's going to happen.
A lot of my people are in a situation where they are paying off debt. They're motivated to pay off debt, or they're
Good.
motivated to start a savings or college fund or a travel fund. And it can be a little bit of that free money. So I think I would like to paint that picture of like what else we could do.
This is a total disclaimer. I am not a tax expert. I am a CPA, but I don't do taxes. So this is not tax advice. This is not wealth management advice. This is Pam Pior's. So it depends on it always depends on what level you're on. So what I'll do is work my way up kind of from the bottom to the top of priorities that I would do with money. The first thing I would do is pay off my highest interest debt, whatever that is. The second thing I do is get registered any debt you have with the IRS. If you owe the IRS anything for taxes. Okay, so the third thing is always think about all the expenses that you can charge to your business. The next thing I would do is so you've expensed everything you can expense, you've paid yourself, and you're still profitable. This is when you can start to look at some of the things that you talked about. And the first I would do is a SEP. And then after the SEP, then you're getting up into some of the territory that is more fancy tax things. Yeah. One is what's called key man insurance. Other thing people do is set up what's called captive insurance companies. And then finally, the big thing I say is if you do have cash, don't leave it all in your business because you want to diversify. Right now, when you start to have profit over and above what you're paying yourself, you're building wealth. Once you're building wealth, you want to get that diversified into some other things because your business is going to be the highest risk thing you invest in because it's paying your salary. It's a business, so it's risky by nature. So if the cash is building up, get it out of there and put it in some more secure stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot. And I know a lot of that is above and beyond where people are now, but some people feel guilty about money. Can we talk about that for a second?
Yes, we can. The first thing of all, the more money you make, the more positive change you can make in the world, right? So the more money I have funnel into me, the more I can distribute out to the things that matter to me. The flip side of this, I will tell you, the only reason I can be so firm about this is I've made the mistake over and over, and I still make it at least 3 or 4 times a year. I go ahead and undercharge for my services at least 2 or 3 times a year. Every time, no exception, every time, it's the worst client for me and they don't get the value.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't let them pay you for the value, they won't take advantage of it. They won't get it. You won't do them any good. So you're charging them less for less value. Now, all that said, there's no judgment about what price you charge, right? Always test yourself. In fact, I'm about to go tell my wife, who's a life coach, she's been charging a certain amount for her stuff. She started at about half that. And I'm going to say, look, on your next call, you don't have to have that client, right? You're at the point now on your next call, actually what I said was, tell me what you think your next level of charge would be. Now tell me, do you think you're worth that? She's like, oh my God, I'm worth, absolutely, they get a lot out of it. I said, cool. Now double that number in your head. Now double it again. And I said, the next client you talk to, that's the price I want you to give them. Next one, I don't care who it is. Try it. Not because it might sell that client. Maybe it is the wrong person coming out of the woodwork, but it's changing who you are in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because now 2 things are happening. 2 are, this is my price and I'm really good, starts to come across. And that creates an amazing amount of FOMO, by the way, if you know you're worth what you're saying. And then the second is that you live into it in the confidence level that you're talking about. Like you become that person by saying it, just even that once. And then the next time, cut it back down in half or whatever, but play that game with it until you become the person that is selling that for what you know it's worth.
What do we do if we know our client's not really making money though?
So what I would suggest is if you have that feeling that tells you this person should not be buying from me,
Yeah.
test it first. Is it your insecurity or is it their real situation? They have decided that what you sell is worth it to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So giving them free is not an option. So give them the real price. And you'll see from this video, they'll decide if it's worth that much. And it may be worth that much, but they can't do it today.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
But if you give it for a lot less than that, because you know their situation, you're tying yourself to that level of client kind of forever, because you can't go and expand your marketing or your reach or go to the events where you're going to meet the clients who can pay more.
Okay, let's talk about your freebie because you have a pricing calculator.
What it does is it takes you through exactly what I cover in the video and pictures. It's a little spreadsheet that lets you figure it out for you. It figures out what your hours cost you, and it figures out what your value is to your client. Ooh. And then it shows you the range of prices and how to choose where on that range you want to pick.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. You've shared some amazing resources today. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this. You are going to find everything Pam mentioned in the link below. You're also going to find the link to the full podcast episode in case there's a little bit more you want to grab out of it. Again, I'm Emily Reagan. Thanks for joining us on this episode. In the next video, we'll be talking about bookkeeping. So make sure you hit subscribe so you can learn how to manage the books for your virtual assistant business. See you next time.